You're obviously going to be hearing a lot about AI in today's conference. It's going to be a recurring theme. So what we thought we will do is we'll talk about something slightly different when it comes to AI. And we'll talk about two recurring themes that hopefully you'll see throughout. One, we'll talk about a little bit of grounding on AI. What's happening on the ground? Cut through the noise, cut through the hype a little bit, and really focus on what's happening on the ground. Number two, we'll focus a lot on what is creating value, what is real, what is not creating value. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Before we begin, I saw this cartoon a couple of days ago, and I thought it was pretty interesting in terms of what it looked at. It represents a lot of the hype around AI right now. So a lot of companies are throwing money at it, trying to see what works, what doesn't work, which I thought was very interesting based on where we are. And why am I sort of talking about it? Been in the region for the last 3 years, worked with several global brands and retailers, been a retailer throughout my life. At Deloitte, I lead our AI work for a lot of consumer retail clients, so a lot of familiar faces here. I also lead our AI Institute, which is our think tank on AI in the marketplace. So we're going to talk about three things today, and we'll try and answer three questions together. One, what are your peers, retail executives, saying about AI and its impact, what it's creating? As Deloitte, we are in a very privileged position to talk to a lot of the executives in the retail space, try and really understand what's happening in their organization and their company. We'll talk about how are retailers using AI with some real examples, practical examples of what's causing value. And finally, we'll talk about what it means for you moving forward, especially in the kingdom, as you start to think about adopting this technology. We do a survey every year, and we do state of AI in the enterprise every year. This is the first year where we're actually sort of covering the Middle East market as well. So we speak to C-level executives in retails, brands, manufacturers, and try and understand what's happening. And our CEO, when he looked at the results, he said it's breathtaking. The speed and scale of what's happening is absolutely breathtaking. So I want to focus and start there from an emotion standpoint. We asked executives, what emotions do you feel when it comes to AI? And what we are seeing is a very strong excitement, fascination, but uncertainty. Because it's a new technology. The impact is not clear. When ChatGPT launched in 2022, the entire world changed. But it's still early stage. We are at the very, very early stage of this technology. So while there is excitement, while there's fascination, there is also a lot of uncertainty. And this is reflecting, and where is the excitement coming from? And where is the uncertainty coming from? A lot of them, about 80% of retailers, 4 out of 5 retailers, are saying that it's going to substantially change their organization in the next 3 years. That's what your peers are saying when we speak to them, right? You don't want to be 1 out of the 5. And some of that expectation in the next 3 years in the transformation is coming from the fact that a lot of them think that there's very high expertise in this space. They're very confident about the Gen AI expertise that's available in the market and available to them. Perhaps too confident. Think about the nature of technology. It's a very new space. AI is just been exploded in the last 2 to 3 years, while the underlying algorithms have been around for much longer. It's hit mainstream in the last 2 to 3 years. Large language models, people with the ability to actually develop, tune large language models are very scarce. So perhaps a little bit more confidence, and that's reflecting in why people think, retailers also think that they can transform in the next 3 years. This is pretty obvious, but goes without saying. If you're very, very well prepared, organizations that are well prepared tend to have very high expertise in this space. And when I talk about preparation, it's not just about technology. It's about technology at scale. It's about having the right strategy, risk, governance, talent. And we're seeing companies that have been better prepared are better able to tackle and create the impact that they want. And A lot of them, companies, retailers, they're still relying on off-the-shelf Gen AI solutions, right? A lot of them are still looking at what can I buy, what can I quickly buy, and that's perhaps where, when we look at confidence, when we look at why it's creating a lot of confidence, and we think some of that confidence is misplaced, some of it is coming from, oh, let me just buy software, put it in, it'll work. Let me just do these POCs, it'll work. We're seeing that's not the case. There's still heavy reliance on off-the-shelf Gen AI solutions. And that's causing retailers, people we've spoken to, especially in the kingdom, in Saudi Arabia, half the retailers are planning to increase their AI investments in 2025. And that's, given the market challenges, given what's happening around the market, that's a massive percentage of companies that are looking to make their investments. So, you've seen what companies are talking about. You've seen what they're thinking about AI, what your peers are thinking in the marketplace. I want to summarize all of that very, very quickly. And I want to focus on the last point. And I didn't have a graph for this. But I think the key, if you see at the very last, the leaders we speak to, they think their employees and the talent, how they're prepared to absorb AI is very, very low. However, when we speak to the employees and talent, they're ready. They're ready to embrace AI, right? And that's a dichotomy that we are seeing. Because leaders are worried about change management. They're worried about how can I get my people to adopt. Well, what we're seeing is they're ready. That's what they're saying. Let's talk about how are retailers using AI. Now that you've heard what your peers are saying, what the impact of AI is, and what they feel about it, and what the investments are going to be, what examples can we learn from? I want to start with Walmart, one of the big retailers across the world. And the two quotes that really sort of struck with me, right? They're using AI to enhance their product catalog. In a market like in the kingdom where e-commerce is big, having right quality product data is super important. And he said, to enhance their product catalog using AI, if they didn't use AI, they would have needed 100 times their current headcount, which they didn't need when they used Gen AI. Search, when we talk about e-commerce, one of the very important discoveries that we find, and that's what they're reporting on as well, cross-category search is much more powerful on generative AI because large language models are able to connect the dots across different categories, extract themes. So it helps drive e-commerce profitability much better than traditional search engines. And that's something to think about as you grow your e-commerce business. Amazon. Regular software upgrades. Amazon reported that they saved $260 million worth of effort in just software upgrades. And they reported that to the Wall Street and looking at the impact of AI. If you ever go to their website, you'll see product review summary being generated of each and every product. You'll see what customers are saying, which factors are working, which factors are not working, what are customers complaining about. A lot of that has already started to roll out. eBay, Marketplace. They've rolled out in a competitive channel, Facebook Marketplace, which is a competitor to eBay. They've actually rolled out a shop bot, which is a shopping assistant from discovery to purchase. And you heard in the previous channel talking about personalization discovery. They've rolled that out to serve complex needs of the customer. Let's look at in the kingdom. This is a couple of work that Deloitte, we are doing in the marketplace, right? A lot of you here, a lot of retailers here implement SAP, Oracle, and ERP systems. We are actually seeing examples of where S/4HANA migration, for example, in retail, that's being done at 40% lower cost, where AI is being used to rewrite code from legacy systems. For a large food manufacturer in the kingdom, they wanted to develop an asset management strategy for their factories and warehouses. They want to understand where to grow that further, right? And we and one of our competitors were bidding for this. And one of the things, the CSO was a good friend of ours. I was telling, let's get your team, our team, in a room. Let's equip them with the best AI tools out there. Let's work together 3 weeks and come out of 3 weeks with a strategy and a plan. Very different approach to how you would traditionally do strategy, right? And they completed the strategy work in 40% of the budget that they set out, creating real impact in the kingdom. So what does all of this mean for retailers and yourself moving forward, right? Many of you are part of family businesses. What does it mean for you moving forward? And we wanted to share some practical examples of what's working, what's not working. And this is still very early stages. I want to paraphrase what we're saying. This is still very early stages of the technology, but what are the practical considerations to keep in mind? Number one, value is in the boring stuff. You see a lot of fancy demos, I'm pretty sure from even Deloitte and others, you will see a lot of fancy demos. Anybody can do that. The value is in the boring stuff. You saw Amazon, you saw Walmart, you saw some of the kingdoms. They're finding value in day-to-day operations, right? Important to keep in mind. Fancy demos are important. That's what creates the excitement. I subscribe to it, but that's not where the value is. We're seeing a death by POCs. A lot of companies are offering proof of concepts, POCs. Don't get stuck in that spiral. POCs are easy, right? You got college students doing proof of concepts these days. Very easy to do that. Scaling is hard. So when you talk about introducing AI in your organization, don't get stuck in that spiral. What we're seeing where retailers are successful is they're able to pick a problem and go deep in it and actually prove the value out of it. In between all of this, all of these efficiencies are taking into ground, right? You saw the stories that are happening around the world. You have to think about what do you do with the time and efficiency that's being created, right? It's not just about let me save costs, right? It's about what do I do with the time and cost that I've saved, and that's equally important. And this is sort of very, very critical from what we are seeing. I speak to CIOs all the time, and one of the common questions that they get asked is, hey, I'm in a family business, my board is asking me, what are we doing about AI? What's our plan, right? And that's a very common question we hear. I think that's a wrong question. Don't start with what can we do with AI. Start with what your organization's goals are. What are you looking to achieve? And then talk about how AI can help achieve that. And that's very, very important. It cannot be how AI is transforming the organization's goals. It should be your organization's goals using AI to transform. In this time period, human workforce involving your employee base is more important than ever, right? As Deloitte, one of the very first things we did when we said AI is going to disrupt what we're doing, the very first thing we did is we gave everybody, every single employee at Deloitte access to AI. We took the underlying large language model, put it in a secure space within our firewall, and we gave it to everybody. And that's important, right? Empower your workforce, more important than ever. And don't forget risk. KSA with Sadaya and NIC have come out with some fantastic guidelines and regulations. I suggest don't overlook that from a mitigation standpoint. So with that, I want to leave with one last message that we are seeing in the market. In January, we are coming out with our very first State of AI in the Middle East, where we've spoken to more than 200 C-level executives across industries, over half of them in retail and consumer sector. And to 2025, we believe is going to be a big year for AI in the kingdom. I want to leave with one final thought before we close off. While there's a lot of excitement, a lot of hope and uncertainty, I purposely kept it at the very end. There is a lot of pressure. Anybody who's been in a family business, if you work with retailers, you will know there is a lot of internal, external pressure to adopt AI. When you're doing that, it's super important that you are doing that in a way that's grounded in what works, what doesn't work. Be prepared holistically from a strategy standpoint and from a talent and risk standpoint before you jump into solutions. With that, I think we are ending at time. Thank you so much and have a great rest of the day. And hopefully this is helpful in understanding how you can create value from AI. Thank you.